In human relationships, especially between men and women, the true distinction of a wise man often lies not in what he does, but in what he deliberately avoids. Behavioral psychology shows that subtle habits often unnoticed can silently erode confidence and diminish natural attraction. This isn't about tricks or manipulation, it's about preserving self-respect, composure, and inner strength. At Intimate Wisdom, we reveal 9 common mistakes that truly smart men never commit. Mastering these insights won't just help you understand women better, it will empower you to lead with clarity, confidence, and lasting influence. In psychology, a man's true attraction doesn't come from looks, but from confidence and self-control. A strong man doesn't over-explain, doesn't beg for approval, his calm presence speaks louder than words. Most importantly, intelligent men never cross the line. They don't talk endlessly about sex, they don't objectify women, and they never use pressure or force. Real confidence isn't about taking, it's about creating safety, the kind that makes a woman want to be with you by choice. Lasting attraction isn't built on what you do to impress, but on what you refuse to do. Restraint, respect, and discipline, these are the marks of true masculine strength. Principle 1. Never over-explain yourself. At first glance, this may seem trivial, yet it is one of the most common traps men fall into. Picture this, she asks, "Why didn't you text back right away?" Or "Why weren't you at the event?" Many men instinctively rush to provide elaborate reasons: busy schedules, stress at work, or forgotten phone batteries. While these justifications may feel polite, psychology tells us they often reveal something deeper, a search for approval. Over-explaining is rarely about clarity, it is usually a symptom of insecurity. From a behavioral science perspective, over-explaining is a defensive communication style. Defensive communication arises when we feel judged and attempt to protect our self-image through excessive words. But the paradox is that the more we justify, the less convincing we become. Women, being naturally attuned to emotional cues, can sense when a man is trying too hard to defend his actions, instead of inspiring trust. This unintentionally signals self-doubt. On the other hand, high-value men practice what psychologists call assertive communication. They deliver their message briefly, calmly, and with conviction, or sometimes choose silence when no explanation is necessary. Assertiveness communicates self-confidence, independence, and emotional stability. When a man answers concisely without scrambling to prove himself, he shows that he is grounded, and that his worth is not dependent on constant validation. A perceptive woman will notice this difference immediately. If respect is already present, she does not require a play-by-play account of his every move. If respect is absent, no amount of justification will restore it. Thus, the principle is simple: let your actions, your composure, and your presence carry the meaning. Mystery builds attraction, clarity builds trust, but excessive explanation erodes both. And that is why the first principle every smart man follows is this: say it once, say it with certainty, and then move on. Principle 2. Don't chase. There is a fundamental difference between pursuing and chasing. Pursuit is intentional, it has direction, clarity, and balance. Chasing, on the other hand, is desperate movement without traction. Every time a man bombards her with messages, bends over backward to impress, or gives attention that hasn't been earned, he lowers his own value in her eyes. From a behavioral psychology perspective, women often test unconsciously. A late reply, a cancelled plan, or a moment of distance is not always rejection, sometimes it is simply a way of gauging stability. The real question is, does he maintain his composure, or does he collapse into insecurity? When a man double texts, pleads for another chance, or anxiously tries to prove himself, he is communicating dependence. Dependence always erodes respect. Smart men understand this distinction. They know that confidence is not about applying pressure, it is about direction and self-control. They express interest clearly but never beg for validation. If the energy is mutual, they continue with ease. If it is not, they step back without resentment. This ability to withdraw gracefully is not coldness, it is confidence. It shows a man values his purpose and dignity more than fleeting attention. The paradox is simple: when you chase, you devalue yourself. The moment you act as though her time and attention are more important than your own, you hand away the power dynamic. Attraction is not built on desperation, it thrives on balance. A woman feels magnetically drawn to a man who stands firm in his own frame, who leads calmly, and who knows when to walk away. If a woman truly wants you in her life, she will make space for you. If she does not, no amount of chasing will change that reality. In fact, the harder you chase, the further she will pull away. By refusing to chase, you protect not only your self-respect but also your natural attractiveness. The principle is clear: pursue when there is mutual energy, but never chase when it is one-sided. Because in relationships, just as in life, direction without desperation is what separates strength from weakness. Principle 3. Don't reveal your whole life too soon. Attraction is not built in a single conversation, it develops gradually, through curiosity, discovery, and shared experiences over time. One of the most common mistakes men make is unloading their entire life story within the first days or weeks of meeting someone. Childhood traumas, ex-relationships, personal fears, and future goals poured out too quickly don't create intimacy. Instead, they create pressure. Psychology explains this through the concept of emotional pacing. Just as physical closeness follows a rhythm of approach and retreat, emotional connection also requires balance. When you reveal too much too soon, you flood the interaction with intensity that the other person has not yet earned or prepared for. What was intended as vulnerability often feels like emotional weight. And weight rarely generates attraction, it generates discomfort. High-value men understand that intimacy is a dance, not a confession. They don't hide who they are, but they reveal themselves with intention. Step by step, each story, each detail, is offered at the right time and in the right context, allowing the other person to lean in with curiosity rather than be overwhelmed. In communication theory, this is called strategic self-disclosure, sharing selectively to build trust and engagement without creating pressure. When a man holds back parts of his story, it is not about manipulation, it is about protecting the value of his experiences. Just as a rare book becomes more precious when it is not handed out carelessly, your personal truths gain significance when revealed gradually. A woman who has to ask, who has to wonder, who feels she is earning access to your deeper layers, will value that connection more profoundly. The principle is clear: mystery fuels attraction, while pacing fuels trust. Oversharing kills both. The goal is not to withhold forever but to reveal in alignment with the growth of the relationship. Allow her to earn your story, piece by piece. Let curiosity drive the connection forward rather than pressure. Smart men don't empty their entire lives onto the table in the first week. They understand that attraction lives in anticipation, and anticipation only exists when you give space for discovery. Principle 4. Don't try to fix her. When a man meets a woman who seems emotionally inconsistent, joyful one moment, withdrawn the next, sometimes even sabotaging herself, many men instinctively step into the role of rescuer. They believe that with enough patience, care, or sacrifice, they can change her, stabilize her, and make her whole. But psychology makes it clear, this is one of the most damaging mistakes a man can make in a relationship. The reason is simple. When you try to fix a woman, you unconsciously place yourself in a parental role rather than a partner role. Instead of being equals, the dynamic shifts into caretaker and dependent. This imbalance kills attraction. What might feel like support in your mind often registers as control, suffocation, or misplaced responsibility in hers. A man who assumes responsibility for her inner chaos is stepping into a storm that isn't his to manage. From a behavioral perspective, this attempt to fix is often rooted in ego. It gives a man the illusion of purpose, as though he is the one who can finally heal her, but in reality, it drains his energy, erodes boundaries, and ultimately backfires. Emotional growth cannot be outsourced. A woman who wants to change will do so because of her own will, not because someone else engineered it for her. Smart men understand the difference between supporting and fixing. Support means listening, empathizing, and providing space for her feelings. Fixing means taking ownership of problems that are not yours, and that is where attraction collapses. True strength is not about solving every issue, but about knowing what is yours to carry and what is not. The paradox is that women often feel safer and more attracted to men who refuse to be pulled into emotional chaos. By standing firm, by showing empathy without losing their center, men communicate stability. And stability is far more attractive than any attempt at rescue. The principle here is clear: be her partner, not her therapist. Be the man who offers a steady presence, not the man who tries to rewrite her life. Attraction thrives in balance, where both individuals are accountable for their own growth. Step outside that balance, and you risk losing both respect and connection. Principle 5. Don't neglect your purpose for her. One of the most subtle yet destructive mistakes men make in relationships is allowing their sense of purpose to fade into the background. At first, it seems harmless, skipping a workout to spend time with her, putting off a project to extend a date, or neglecting friendships to be constantly available. Over time, however, these small sacrifices accumulate until his entire world begins to revolve around her. What feels like devotion in the moment soon transforms into dependency, and dependency erodes both respect and attraction. Psychology and social dynamics both highlight a critical truth: people are most drawn to those who have a clear mission. A man who knows where he is going, who invests in his goals and passions, radiates a magnetic confidence. On the other hand, when he abandons his ambitions for the sake of constant availability, he communicates that his value lies only in proximity, not in purpose. That message weakens his frame, and women instinctively lose respect for it even if they never say it aloud. High-value men do not confuse connection with codependency. They integrate relationships into their lives, but they never make a woman the center of their existence. Their careers, fitness, passions, and personal growth remain non-negotiable. Why? Because these pursuits are not optional hobbies, they are the oxygen that sustains identity and drive. To give them up is not an act of love, it is an act of self-abandonment. From an evolutionary standpoint, women are naturally drawn to men who are on a path. Purpose signals stability, direction, and the ability to lead. When a man gives up that path for her attention, he inadvertently sends the opposite signal: uncertainty and neediness. And nothing undermines attraction faster than neediness. The principle is simple: bring her into your world, but it don't make her your world. She should enhance your journey, not replace it. When a man stays true to his mission, he not only preserves his dignity but also increases his attractiveness. A woman who sees that she cannot distract him from his path will admire him more deeply, and paradoxically, she will chase him instead. Purpose is the foundation of masculine strength. Protect it, nurture it, and never trade it away for temporary comfort. Principle 6. Don't compete for her attention. Picture this: you're at a social gathering with her, and suddenly she's laughing at another man's joke. Your chest tightens, your ego stings, and instinctively you start trying harder, telling louder stories, making bigger gestures, doing whatever it takes to pull her focus back to you. But in that very moment, you've already lost ground. By competing, you've admitted that her attention is a prize and that you feel unworthy of keeping it without a fight. In social psychology, this is called compensatory behavior driven by insecurity. When men feel their position threatened, they often overcompensate to prove their worth. Yet the paradox is that this very effort signals the opposite: insecurity. Instead of strengthening attraction, it dilutes it. The harder you try to outshine others, the more you look like every other man desperate for validation. High-value men operate differently. They understand that calm presence carries more weight than frantic performance. When she engages with others, they don't flinch or scramble. They remain grounded, comfortable in their own skin. and confident that their value doesn't hinge on momentary attention. This quiet assurance is precisely what separates them from the crowd. From a behavioral standpoint, attraction is not built on theatrics, it is built on stability. A man who stays centered when her focus drifts demonstrates strength, composure, and independence. Women notice this contrast immediately, while others fight for attention. The man who refuses to compete communicates a powerful message: I don't need to prove myself. I already know my worth. Ironically, the man who doesn't chase after attention often becomes the one who holds it most effortlessly. His refusal to compete sets him apart, creating a subtle intrigue that draws her back naturally. By showing that her wandering attention doesn't shake his foundation, he demonstrates the emotional security that women find deeply attractive. The principle is clear: don't play the game of attention seeking. When you remain steady, confident, and unbothered, you rise above the competition without even trying. And paradoxically, it's the man who doesn't fight for attention who becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. Principle 7. Don't make her the source of your happiness. One of the most dangerous mistakes men make in relationships is outsourcing their happiness to a woman. At first, it may feel romantic. She becomes the reason you smile, the light in your day, the center of your emotional world. But psychology teaches us a hard truth: when you build your well-being around someone else, you also hand them the power to destroy it. If she leaves, pulls away, or even has a bad day, your entire sense of stability collapses. In emotional psychology, this is called externalized validation. When your joy depends on her mood, her approval, or her attention, you are no longer self-sufficient. Instead, you become emotionally dependent, and dependency always erodes attraction. Neediness is rebelling, not because women dislike closeness, but because it signals fragility. A man who cannot stand on his own becomes a liability, not a source of strength. High-value men take a different path. They build happiness from within, rooted in discipline, personal growth, and a sense of mission. Their peace comes from routine, their confidence from achievement, and their joy from self-mastery. This doesn't mean they're cold or detached, it means they are whole before they enter a relationship. A woman doesn't complete them, she complements them. From a behavioral perspective, this self-sufficiency is magnetically attractive. Women are drawn to men who radiate stability, not those who collapse without constant reassurance. The paradox is powerful: the less you need her to be your happiness, the more she will want to be a part of it. Wholeness attracts, while emptiness repels. This doesn't mean you shut her out emotionally. It means you maintain balance. You allow her to enhance your happiness, but you never make her responsible for it. Your identity, your joy, and your peace of mind remain anchored in something deeper than her presence. The principle is simple: love her, appreciate her, share your life with her, but never hand over your emotional foundation. If you are not already good on your own, no relationship will save you. True strength lies in creating happiness within yourself first. Only then can you invite her into a world that is already full. Principle 8. Don't react emotionally to her tests. In every relationship, women will consciously or unconsciously throw what psychologists call tests. It may come as a delayed reply, a sarcastic remark about your abilities, or her appearing extra friendly with another man. Most men fall into the trap. They explode in anger, spiral into jealousy, or worse, doubt themselves. But here's the paradox: your emotional overreaction doesn't solve the problem, it amplifies it. From a behavioral psychology perspective, these tests aren't malicious. They're instinctive mechanisms to measure a man's emotional stability and resilience. A woman wants to know: can you stay grounded under pressure? Can you hold your frame when challenged? If you crumble at the first sign of tension, you signal weakness. And weakness never inspires attraction, it undermines it. Smart men operate differently. They understand that reacting impulsively is surrendering control. Instead of lashing out or over-explaining, they pause, breathe and respond deliberately. Sometimes, a calm smile is enough. Sometimes, a shrug. Sometimes, silence. Each of these conveys strength far more than heated words ever could. By refusing to be dragged into emotional turbulence, you position yourself as the mountain, steady, immovable while emotions swirl around you like passing winds. This is what psychology refers to as emotional regulation, the ability to manage your inner state despite external triggers. Men who master this are not only more respected, but also more magnetic. Why? Because they radiate safety. A woman doesn't seek perfection, she seeks assurance that when storms hit, her partner won't collapse. Your calmness becomes her anchor, your composure her comfort. The paradox is simple yet profound: the less you react to her tests, the more she respects you. The moment you refuse to be rattled, you demonstrate a higher level of control over yourself, which is the rarest and most attractive form of power. The core lesson: never hand your emotional steering wheel to someone else. Don't let sarcasm, silence, or provocation dictate your state of mind. Let your calm presence do the talking. When you can smile through the test, you don't just pass it, you elevate yourself in her eyes as a man of true strength. Principle 9. Never apologize for your standards. One of the most powerful signals a man can send in any relationship is the clarity of his standards. Standards are not about arrogance or entitlement, they are about self-respect. They define how you live, what you tolerate, and the kind of relationship you are willing to invest in. Yet, many men undermine themselves by apologizing for those very standards. They fear being called too picky, too demanding, or hard to please. But here's the truth: a man without standards is a man without a backbone. From a psychological perspective, standards act as filters of value. They determine who qualifies for your time, your energy, and your commitment. Without them, you invite chaos. You accept poor treatment, inconsistent behavior, and situations that drain you. Worse, you teach others consciously or unconsciously that they can cross your boundaries without consequence. Attraction dies the moment respect is lost. And respect cannot exist without clear boundaries. Smart men never apologize for the lines they draw. They don't raise their voice. They don't justify endlessly. And they don't water down their expectations just to be liked. Instead, they communicate their standards calmly and consistently. If a woman respects you, she will rise to meet them. If she doesn't, she will walk away. And in both cases, you win because you preserve your self-respect and avoid a relationship built on compromise of your core values. Social psychology research shows that people are more attracted to individuals who hold firm convictions. This is called the principle of consistency. When you demonstrate unwavering alignment between your words and actions, others perceive you as more trustworthy and more powerful. By contrast, apologizing for your standards signals insecurity, as if you need external validation to legitimize your choices. Here's the paradox: the stronger you stand in your boundaries, the less you need to enforce them. People sense your self-respect and either align with it or disqualify themselves. And that natural sorting is exactly what protects your energy and your worth. The lesson is clear: never apologize for expecting respect, loyalty, or effort. Standards are not chains that restrict you, they are shields that protect you. Hold them firmly, and you won't just attract the right woman, you'll also ensure that you keep her respect. Principle 10. Never engage in sexual assault or coercion. Nothing destroys a man's character faster than crossing the line of sexual coercion or assault. This is not just an ethical failure, it is a violation of law, humanity, and personal dignity. A wise man understands that true attraction can only exist when there is mutual consent, respect, and comfort between both individuals. The moment you attempt to take what has not been freely given, you don't just lose your appeal, you forfeit your integrity. From a psychological perspective, lasting attraction is built on a sense of safety and trust. A woman can only open herself emotionally and physically when she feels secure in your presence. Any attempt to pressure, manipulate, or force intimacy creates fear, trauma, and permanent distance. It is not strength, it is weakness disguised as control. Smart men know that real desire cannot be demanded. It must be inspired. They never try to overpower or rush a woman into something she is not ready for. Instead, they respect her pace and her boundaries, because they know their value is not determined by instant gratification. Patience, discipline, and self-control are the true signs of masculine strength. The consequences of crossing this boundary extend far beyond the personal sphere. Legally, sexual assault carries devastating penalties: loss of freedom, reputation, and future opportunities. Morally, it erases trust, inflicts deep psychological wounds, and marks you as unsafe to be around. True power is not about possession through force, but about creating an environment where a woman feels drawn to you willingly, without fear or hesitation. Principle 10 is clear: never coerce, never assault, never cross that line. High-value men recognize that respect and consent are not negotiable. They are the foundation of intimacy and the cornerstone of every healthy relationship. To protect your dignity, your future, and her well-being, you must always lead with respect. At the end of the day, the most attractive men are not those who try to dominate, but those who embody safety, trust, and self-control. When a woman chooses to be with you freely, that is where real connection and lasting desire are born. Anything less is not only destructive, it is beneath the standard of a truly intelligent man. In the end, remember this: a man's power is not only in what he does, but in what he refuses to do. When you set boundaries, lead with confidence, and let your presence speak, women can't help but feel drawn to you. So stop chasing approval, let your strength and restraint define you. Thank you for listening until the very end. If today's story has gently stirred your heart, whether through an old memory, a present feeling, or something never spoken into words, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Intimate wisdom is where we come together to touch the hidden corners of love, affection, and sexuality. Things that may seem private, yet are in fact the very core of happiness. I wish you to always love deeply, live truthfully, and find yourself in every glance, every touch, and every trembling heartbeat. Affectionate greetings.